It's my pleasure to welcome Andrei Kostin to the programme. Welcome to Bloomberg. Now, Russia, if we can look overall at the economy, it's been very lucky to be one of the part of the BRICs less badly hit by the current economic cycle, and also being considered the BRICs to be pushing the world out of a recession. How do you assess Russia's position economically at present?
Well, I think, unfortunately, Russia was more affected by the crisis than other BRIC countries. Even some people started to talk about that Russia could no longer be considered as a BRIC country. Yeah. But this year, Russia showed quite a strong recovery. We expect that the GDP will grow by 5%. Government managed to bring inflation to a record low level, which is around 6%. And the deficit of Russian budget would not exceed 4 or 5%. So I think Russia is very much on course for recovery in a short-term period of time, at least.
Now, oil and gas are clearly incredibly important to Russia, but it is something overall that the economy is looking at diversifying out of, so that you're not so heavily reliant on it.
Absolutely, that's absolutely vital for the Russian economy now, to modernize the economy, to introduce innovation. That's probably explained why our president is now traveling to Silicon Valley, because what we understood, particularly from the recent crisis, that unless we modernize and diversify our economy, we will always be very much dependent on oil and gas, and that's create additional risk for the whole economy, for the whole system.
Now, you talk about Silicon Valley. Do you see that kind of innovation as the way forward?
Well, Russian government is now very serious about this. They are both spending government money on this. On the other hand, they're trying to attract private investors. So I think you probably have heard that near Moscow there's a Skolkovo area.
Yes.
When Russia is planning to build its own Silicon Valley, of course, adequate to Russian present development and timing. But I think there'll be definitely, you'll see changes in this direction and development.
The other change, of course, would be to turn Moscow into more of a global financial center. How far along are plans? What does Moscow need to do to change itself into that kind of
I want us all to calm down. I don't think that Moscow will replace London, but Moscow has a very good chances to become an important regional center for what we call the CIS countries or post-Soviet territory. Russia is by far the most developed country in the region, and the Russian currency ruble is a convertible currency. So I think the first target should be to create a local regional center for Russia in neighboring countries, and then move further to become more global.
Now, I was talking to Jim O'Neill recently, who'd just come back from St. Petersburg, and he was talking about this, but also saying that what's quite interesting is the trading and the financial trading among BRIC countries. There's a bit of concern possibly in the West that they're slightly being shut out. Do you see more trading going on between your BRIC partners than perhaps in the past, and certainly between Russia and the West?
Well, they're all different, of course. I mean, we are a neighboring country to China, for example, and our relationship with China is very substantial. Less with India, and even less with Brazil. But of course, the world is changing. The global economy is changing, and BRIC countries are and will be playing more important role in the world economy. So Russia is interested to develop a relationship, and will be developing a relationship, not to the expense of the United States or Europe, for example. But
no, yes, well, your bank VTB has done a lot of work in China. Will you also be moving more into India?
Well, we have offices both in Shanghai and Delhi. We recently received the license to operate in Hong Kong. Again, we don't think that Hong Kong that will replace London soon, but that's another very interesting area and point in Asia. So we'll be working in China and Hong Kong. Yes, I think it's particularly interesting for us. It's a big market.
Now, how much has the European sovereign debt crisis worried you in Russia?
Well, On one hand, Russia today is much less dependent on external funding. We have plenty of liquidity inside Russia. The Russian government, Russian central bank contributed a lot to this. On the other hand, of course, the stabilization of the global economy affect Russian stock market very much. So we would like to see quieter and calmer Europe than it is now. We expect there'll be no bad news coming from Greece every week, and we're watching very thoroughly.
Actually, China has been looking at the Greek market and dabbling in Greek bonds. Is it something that you would consider doing?
No, I don't think so.
Let's talk a little bit about Vladimir Putin. I understand that he is a good personal friend of yours. How do you see his future? He is somebody who certainly enjoys a very prominent, has enjoyed a very prominent role in pushing Russia forward.
Yeah, I mean, definitely he is probably the most popular politician together with Mr. Medvedev today. And it's very difficult to stay in power for more than 10 years and still have a very big public support. But I think it's well deserved. I only watched, last night I watched Russian television, and I saw Mr. Putin meeting widows of the miners who lost their lives recently. I mean, it's a pretty tough job, you know, and I think he's a really great politician. But the future, I think he already built in his name in the history of Russia. But I think both Mr. Putin and Mr. Medvedev are sincere when they're talking about 2012 and saying that they haven't decided yet and the issue will be decided later. I strongly believe that that's the case.
Okay. Andrei Kostin from VTB, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Thank you.